when I'm on the ball diamond, I hear about it all the time. I hear, about the World Series and all of that. So it brings all those, like talking about it again today, right? I'm all emotional again, and I'm feeling it all. I'm feeling the goosebumps and the chills and the excitement.
Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show is brought to you by DKI Canada. Across the street, across the country. He is the only Canadian to ever win a World Series on a Canadian team. Former Blue Jays outfielder Rob Butler. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Our guest today hails from East York, Ontario. He was a 5'10", 185-pound outfielder. He was the MVP of the New York Penn League, the Florida State batting champion, the Intercounty League batting champion, all-time record with 488. He played for Team Canada at 3 World Championships. He represented Canada at the 1988 Olympics. He played for the Blue Jays and Phillies over 4 Major League seasons. He is currently the general manager and manager for the Maple Leafs of Intercounty Baseball. He is the only Canadian to win a World Series title with a Canadian team and the Tip O'Neill Award winner as Canada's top player. Welcome to the program, Rob Butler. Rob, good to have you here, my friend.
Joe, thank you for having me, man. I watched you for a long time as a kid on TV, so you're one of my sports heroes for sure.
Oh, well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. Yeah, I guess I go back a little ways. I started a long, long time ago. We're at CFTO. Actually, I know you're East York. I think Main Danforth area. I was at one time we lived Woodbine and Danforth, East Lynn Avenue. So we're practically neighbors there at one time. Yeah.
Yes.
Also lived at Lincoln Boulevard for a while.
Right near there, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, man. It's a small world.
It is a very small world, especially in the baseball world.
Well, and it's what it is for sure, because East York, I know, is known as a bit of a baseball hotbed. How did you get the bug in baseball?
Well, it's funny, my parents didn't play any baseball, but we would play some slow pitch over on wherever we could find a baseball diamond when I was a little kid. And I used to cry my eyes out when I got out. So I actually hated baseball when I first started playing. But you know what? Me and my brother and a bunch of my friends, we played this game called Burby. It was a wall ball game. We put a batter's box on the wall, and it was something that really I fell in love with as a young kid. And I actually played. Interestingly, I played with both of my hands. I was ambidextrous, but mostly played back then as a righty. And I had a friend named Marcelo Kim who played with us. He was a schoolmate of mine, and we were just 10 years old, and he wanted me to come play baseball in East York. And I wouldn't do it for the first year. I was too afraid to actually join something organized like that and play baseball. So it took me 2 years, but I finally, we're playing a Burby game one day, early April, 1981. And he said, Rob, you got to come. I got to practice today. Come try out for my team. And that's how my baseball started in East York. My first coach was a guy named Dave Whitfield, and he took one look at me and put me on his little house league team in Stan Wadlow Park.
Wow. So there's no baseball in your roots, no family ties to baseball. Well, I mean, obviously Rich came along later, but nothing that would tie the Butlers to baseball. My parents. No, my mom and dad were very athletic. They just didn't play. My dad came from Newfoundland, obviously, when he was 17, and he never really got into sports. But he was a weightlifter and big time marathon runner. He ended up running the Toronto Marathon 5 times. My mom used to do it a bunch of times. So they were runners. And I think that's one of the things that really helped me and Rich is that we became runners as well. And we were running all the time, sprinting, racing. We'd race to the car. We'd race to the store. We'd race everywhere. And it's funny. It's kind of like built this competitive nature in our family. We're always out doing something sports wise, but never organized. Right. So, I signed myself up. I had to come home and ask my mom for $40 to play in the house league team to get a jersey. And, they were all kind of like skeptical about it because we didn't really have any money for extra curricular things like that. So, but quickly my mom and dad loved baseball. I don't think they missed a game I've ever played, to be honest. So
it was big for us. And then, I wasn't even very good at baseball when I first started. For my brother to kind of come along and see me doing it kind of got him involved and wanted to do it. And he automatically, as soon as he stepped onto a ball diamond with his cleats on, was a better baseball player than me. So I was always trying to keep up with him. I think that's what actually helped me be a better ball player, was he was so good.
So you guys pushed each other, I'm guessing, because you're a couple of years older than Rich, but you got to the sport sooner than he did. But as you mentioned, he's such a great athlete that he pushed you, you pushed him. It was probably a lot of talent on the field when you two guys were out there.
Yes, I would say more when Rich was out there than me. He, when I was coming up, my coach actually bought me a glove to be able to throw left-handed. I showed up with my mom's little red glove. I don't even know what it was made out of. It was made out of plastic. Anyways, I was throwing with my wrong hand.
Yeah.
And anyways, but I would play catch and have fun with my left hand. And he was like, "You're a left-handed pitcher." And I didn't have a glove, and I wasn't going to go buy a glove either. So I showed up one day with my new glove, and I became left-handed, which led me down the road of being more of a pitcher than a batter. So I wasn't very good at batting. I struggled a lot as a kid as a batter. My brother never had that problem. Rich was always, I think Rich has every record known to man at East York baseball. But for me, it came later. Like, honestly, it came from me hitting and being a good outfielder came later. My old coach, Harry McAloney, actually wanted me to be a pitcher only when I was 16 years old. He said, Rob, you can't hit the ball out of the infield, but you can sure strike some guys out. I was only throwing 75 miles an hour, getting guys out. But that made me mad. I was like, no way. Like, I loved hitting, even though I wasn't good at it. And I was determined. And, my dad put a little gym in our basement with some crappy old cement weights and a barbell that he probably found at a dump somewhere. And he put this little weightlifting thing for us and taught me and my brother how to weightlift. And honest to God, changed my whole world. My dad doing that for us really, I don't know, something changed dramatically, because I went from being basically a pitcher only at 16 to starting center fielder in the Olympics 2 years later in 1988. So it was a drastic physical change and mental change for me. And that changed my whole life, with my dad doing that.
So between the weights and working out and I guess probably some physical change was happening with a kid who's 16 years old too, and everything else. So that just helped you develop it. I mean, you go from a guy who can't hit the ball out of the infield to a guy who wins batting titles and who starts for the Canadian Olympic team in center field. So obviously things changed a lot for you, and you lost your desire to be a pitcher. Where? When?
Right when I gave up about a 500-foot home run to a guy named Yen Chong playing for Hyde Park. I gave up a lot of home runs as a pitcher, man. I got to tell you, it's once I reached that age where everybody was bigger and stronger than me, boy, was I in trouble. So it was good that I learned how to hit and became more of a hitter, because my pitching days were really numbered. And Bob Prentice and some of these other scouts, Lefty Bag and some other guys, Ron Run City, came to watch me as a pitcher, scouting me at Stanwallow lot. And they were like, "Man, you're not a very good pitcher, but you sure can hit." I don't know why they keep telling us to come watch you pitch.
You can't hit.
And
yeah.
So anyways, that's kind of like the road. That's kind of the way the road went. We had our days of, people telling us that we weren't good at things. So we wanted to prove a lot of people wrong. And, it was difficult to try to be a Canadian baseball player back in the day. They only had bird dog scouts around. There wasn't really much happening. A guy in East York named Alan Butler went to the Jays before us, which kind of gave us all an inspiration to, this was 1985. That maybe a guy, more guys could play pro baseball. So, there's some guys in East York that are really good at baseball that really motivated us as well. So, I mean, all that kind of tied into us being motivated that we could actually accomplish this. So it kind of all fell into place for me in 1988. I got really lucky. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain how things happen mentally, physically. Things change, and it did for me at the right time. And I found myself playing, in the Olympics in Seoul, Korea. So I feel very lucky that my dad did what he did. To be honest, I mean, my whole life he's been there, doing the right things for me and my brother, and believing in us, and when no one else. A lot of people didn't believe in us, to be honest. I remember my dad asking for a contract, and we got turned down a few times because they thought that we had peaked and we weren't good enough to be pros. So he's the main guy, the driving force behind us believing in ourselves for sure.
Yeah, I think I heard the story about like you signing with the Blue Jays was sort of more or less an afterthought, wasn't it? It was kind of like Rich they were after, and your kind of dad stepped in there, and is that how it worked?
Yeah, it's well, you know what? Like there were some other things that obviously came into play for me when I was a kid. I was really had some anxiety issues and stress issues, and everything was all fine when I went to the Olympics. I was feeling good, and then all of a sudden something flipped, a switch flipped, and the Blue Jays were interested in signing me back then, but I wasn't mentally in a place where I felt like I could do it. So as a couple more years went along, my brother became like legitimately an incredible baseball player. He was on the national team when he was 17. The Jays wanted to sign him, but it became where it's funny. Rich wanted to sign. I didn't want to sign. I was too scared to sign. In actual fact, is the words I should use. I was just scared to death to do it. So then when I was 20, I played in the Goodwill Games and other world championships. And I had a little blip where I was like, I kind of want to sign. I really want to do this. So my dad called the Jays, called Bob Prentice, and Bob said, no, we don't want Rob anymore. We want Rich. But knowing what we know about Rob, we would do a Rob and Rich deal, but not a Rob deal only. It would be either Rob and Rich or Rich by himself. So my dad came back with that news for me and Rich, and it became evident that the only way that I was going to play pro baseball was to latch on to my brother and ride his coattails. And, it worked out perfectly because, once I got down there and got over my anxieties and some of the issues I was dealing with, I was fine. Like everything fell into place. Me and Rich doing it together was probably the best thing that ever happened to both of us. Being together, really supporting each other. And, sometimes people need family, right? I was lucky I had a brother who was good enough to be able to do it with me. Because I was struggling doing these things on my own. I really got homesick a lot. I was traveling with Team Canada for a couple of years and traveling around the world, and I was homesick all the time and not feeling, I was struggling. I was really struggling with some things. And so that opportunity actually only happened because, Rich agreed to do it. Rich hadn't even turned 17 yet when we signed. And, he hadn't turned 18 yet. Sorry, he was 17. So we had to wait till he turned 18 before we could go. We went to mini camp together in June of 91. So that's basically how it did happen. It was me and Rich together, or I wasn't going.
Well, and it worked out because you were able to deal with your anxiety by having Rich around and by being together. It's like, like if you hadn't had Rich with you, do you think you could have done it?
No, because the story goes deeper. I mean, it does get deeper in the fact that, I went to spring training. I went to spring training by myself. If Rich was still finishing high school, he had to stay in school till June. And I left. I went to spring training. I left after day one. I packed my bags and went and hid in a motel in down in Tampa, Florida. There. And really was bottoming out. I was struggling with some things in my life that I needed to deal with. So I actually tried. I tried on my own, and I couldn't do it. So my whole brain was kind of like this tornado of something. It's hard to explain what you're going through when these things are happening when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, and you can't admit it to anybody because in the 80s, if you admitted that something was wrong with you, people would ostracize you, or you feel you'd be ostracized. Nobody would be there to help. So it took me actually kind of bottoming out and really not being able to function normally, where I couldn't even go to the park. I was like throwing up all the time. I was like physically ill, mentally ill. The whole thing was happening to me for, various reasons that I would learn about later in my life. And so I actually went up. I went AWOL. My roommate was Greg O'Halloran at the time, another guy who's been instrumental in my life and helping me. And I wrote him a little note saying, but I can't do this. My mind's just not letting me do this. And I took off. And so I went for 3 days in a motel, trying to figure out my life. Probably the darkest moments of your life. You're sitting there contemplating, what are you doing? I wasn't an alcoholic. I didn't do drugs. I didn't do anything like that. I just was completely stressed out. So I didn't understand why. So after 3 days of, contemplating the darkest thoughts you can think of, I decided that, an event happened that day where I was walking along, I can still remember seeing myself walking on these train tracks in Tampa, and, I was crying, not crying. People would have thought I was a homeless person. I looked so ragged and, skinny. I wasn't eating. Anyways, tough time in my life. And I decided, with my family that I'd come home and, I did months of therapy. The Blue Jays helped me with that. I'd never been able to get therapy. I didn't know what therapy was. They got me with a doctor in Toronto, and, I was able to voice a lot of things that I was struggling with, things that happened to me as a kid that I was struggling with. I talked about this a little bit in the past, some abuse that happened for me as a child that you kind of carry along, with you with shame and doubt. And you feel like you just can't do things. You feel worthless. You know what I mean? It's what a lot of guys in my boat talk about, right? Is that worthlessness feeling. And I felt that. So that's why I kind of left the Jays and didn't know what to do. Anyways, they kind of put me on the path of getting some help. And, I did that 3 times a week for a few months. And it's, it really saved my life. This man, Dr. Bierman, he put my soul back together, really is what it was, put my mind back together. And in June, he asked me if I wanted to be a Blue Jay. The Blue Jays gave me the option of, not playing and giving back my $5,000 signing bonus. And I decided, you know what? My brother and I got together, and Rich was like, you know what? June 1st, we'll go to mini camp together. We'll do this together. Because I still had my doubts. I was still scared, right? I was scared of the unknown now. Like, can I actually, I hadn't played baseball for over a year.
Yeah.
And anyways, Rich being there with me, God, 3 months after that, I'm winning a batting title and New York Penn League MVP and batting .330 and having the time of my life and loving baseball and loving my mind was clear. I was just like, all that accumulated into me saving my life. I mean, I can't explain it obviously in an hour podcast. God, it would take days to explain everything, but you reach the very bottom where you don't want to live anymore, and talking it out, figuring it out, support from your family, me and Rich playing baseball together, doing spring training together. He went to rookie ball. I went to New York Penn League, but we were there, we were there together to do it. And, all that saved my life. And I went on to have a baseball career. So I feel blessed that somewhere in me, I found the will to want to find some help and get it, and, get my life back in order. I don't want to
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. And what comes to mind for me is like, I mean, I've gone through some tough times in my life where I had to make changes and I had to deal with the dark side and depression and everything else. And ultimately for me, it was alcoholism too. But I also, the fact that the Blue Jays were able to get you some help, and I think you said it was Dr. Beardman and other people that entered your life. And to me, it sounds like they were really ahead of the curve in this one because, like you said, back then it was suck it up, shut up, and just play, And when it came to mental health, it was like nobody knew how to deal with it properly, there's a variety of forms of PTSD and everything else, but people didn't know how to deal with that kind of stuff. And thank God, things are changing and have changed a lot, and today we have Sick Not Weak, and we have like a lot of more awareness and more resources available to us, and we know that the best way to get help is to ask for help and reach out, and there's help available, it sounds like you were able to do that at the right time and have the right people in your path. And to me, it's a beautiful story. And then, because here you are, as you mentioned, a short time later, like a year later, whatever, you're the MVP of the New York Penn League in 1991, winning a batting title, and you're playing, with some good kids, some kids that are all first round draft picks and everything else. And you're playing with these guys and you're rising above and you're shining. And I'm guessing that probably at this point, and then the following year you moved to Florida and you're the Florida State batting champion. And I'm guessing at this point, the Blue Jays are starting to take notice and going, well done, Bobby Prentice. Well done. Good call. Good call. All right. Right.
Oh, definitely. I got injured. The funny thing was I actually got injured after 91. I tore my rotator cuff and had to have shoulder surgery. But which kind of set me back on my training.
Oh, yeah, there's a year in there,
I couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do any batting. And then in 92, I went to the Florida State League. I'm playing with Carlos Delgado, Sean Green. I'm playing with every first-round pick in baseball. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they used to ask me, and Rich, what college did you go to? And we said, no, we went to East York Collegiate. And they're like, where's that college? And anyway, we're like, no, that's high school in Toronto. And they were like, you only played high school baseball and you're winning in batting. You won basically 2 batting titles in a row. And it was, yeah, but I'm the biggest proponent that baseball isn't physical. It's so much mental. And if you're in the right mental place, man, you can accomplish and do anything. One thing that I would say, people ask me, some people ask me, how all this happened. Some people still think you just kind of signed with the Blue Jays and you're playing in the World Series. Like there is no path,
yeah,
no road. And I always say, you know what? If you can do things before they happen, and that's the one thing I learned quickly that I could do with my mind was I could visualize things that would happen before they happened, and it really helped me with my hitting. It really helped me with everything, really, to stay calm and feel good. And these were things I couldn't do as a kid, right? My mind was in such a tornado all the time. I'd have good days and bad days and spurts. But once I was able to clear things out, and I wouldn't even call it focus. I was just able to do things before if I faced a left-handed pitcher, I visualized the pitches that he was throwing. And I don't know, my hand-eye coordination was good because me and Rich never really had this training the other guys had. We didn't play, 150 college games. You know what I mean? We played 12 high school games in East York. Before I went to the New York Penn League, I didn't play baseball. I missed almost a whole year of playing, obviously. So it had to come from somewhere. And really just came from having a clear, focused, happy mind. I was a happy person. And, I found out how much I really, truly love baseball. Playing baseball every single day is not easy. And I couldn't wait for every single game to happen. I lived baseball like 24/7, which also would down the road it would burn me out because I wasn't really mentally tough enough to handle that length of, which is why my career is kind of up and down. You look at my career, I'm kind of, I got to the Jays very quickly. I only played about 190 minor league baseball games, if that, right? And I got to the big leagues quick. So it kind of put me on that little roller coaster of ups and downs and struggle. And, once I got to the situation playing with the Jays and playing for Cito and dealing with things that I wasn't used to, I was very, I had very good supportive managers coming up. And the major leagues is not always like that. It's win-win-win. And, and I completely understand that. It's not, we're not going up there to develop and learn how to, you're there because they think you're going to contribute to winning games. But that, not being able to play every day, kind of set me back a little bit. So it's, the struggles came back a little bit for me. There was times where, I struggled again. It was difficult. Having struggles with your mind can really, I don't know, it's tough, man. When things are good, it's really good. When things can go sideways and go down, like, we all relapse. We all have these things that pop up and, slow you down. And, my career kind of went like that, right? I got parts of 4 years in the majors. I had to make it to the major leagues 4 different times, right? I never made it out of spring training. I always had to go to the minors and fight my way back up. And there was days where, after, the major, playing in the majors and winning a World Series, it got tough for me again. One thing I learned about myself is I didn't really like a lot of eyes on me. And that's tough. That's tough when you want to be a Major League Baseball player playing in front of 50,000 people, right? It's uncomfortable. So anyways, it's just, parts of things that that's just part of my story, part of, how it happened. Right. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I mean, it's a great story because, it's sometimes like, I feel like there's 50,000 people watching me. Well, they actually are watching you. So, not to mention all the millions more on TV. So, but it's great though. I mean, the resilience, the stick-to-itiveness and everything else that you had, and you got called up to the big club in June of 1993. Tell us about that moment. It's June 17th, your very first game, your family on hand to watch. And of course, what happens is you get to bang out a base hit in your very first plate appearance. And what a heck of a way it was for you to start your career. What was that like for you?
Oh my God, it was honestly, Joe, surreal, man. Like I was playing in Syracuse. We're playing a doubleheader. I didn't play in the second game, which was unusual. So I never even suspected something would be up, honestly. Woody Williams already gone to the big leagues. A couple guys had gone to the big leagues before me, so I kind of learned that in AAA, you're really close, right, guys? You know what I mean? I wasn't really focusing on that stuff. It's funny, I really wasn't even focused. I was planning on going to AA in '93. I was going to play with Sean and Carlos and all the guys I was coming up with. So getting the call that night, Nick Leyva, I didn't get called to the major leagues properly. My manager didn't get to tell me. They put it on the scoreboard in Syracuse saying like I called up, I was coaching first base, just for whatever. Nick said, go coach first, go do something. He already knew I was getting called up. Anyways, they flashed it on the scoreboard, which never happens. The manager always tells you after the game or whatever that you're going to the big league. So it was definitely a different way to learn that you're going there. And it was, I had to go to Detroit. Actually, I went to Detroit first. My first game was in Detroit. So it was playing the Tigers at Tiger Stadium. And I didn't even know. Honestly, I didn't know how to react to all of it. I was happy. I was crying a little bit. I have tears of joy and tears of fear too. Like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. There's no like clinic that prepares you for, okay, guys, you get called up. This is exactly what's going to happen. What actually happens is you get called up and you're on an airplane and you don't even know where the entrance is to the park. Like you don't even know where to go to get into a major league dive. It's very hectic. You got to get a new uniform. You got to learn new signs. You got to learn a new schedule, new routine. So it was unbelievably thrilling. Like my energy was my height, like the heightened feelings that you have is incredible. And, even when you get there, guys are just like, good luck, way to go, congratulations. Mm-hmm. But nobody really puts their arm around you and says, hey man, this is a different place to play baseball. This is the greatest place in the world to play baseball, but it's also the toughest place, right? You know what I mean? Like you need to make sure that you do the same thing, stay in your routines. You kind of got to figure all that on your own because these guys are also pros. They're stressed. They're working. They're in their own routine. They're not worried about some rookie coming up, who might take their job. So it's all you're kind of like in the group, but you got to feel your way out and earn your way in. So it was hectic and crazy. So I got my first hit actually in Tiger Stadium. I got an infield hit. I kind of reverted to my style of playing, which was use my speed. And Alan Trammell was playing really close at third base. So I was a bunter. I bunt for hits a lot. And, I hit up, I basically did my classic bang a high chopper off home plate and beat it out. I think I ran faster to first base than Ben Johnson ever would have, even on juice. So it was, that was a record-breaking sprint at first, let me tell you. And probably the greatest feelings I've ever had. Honestly, standing at first base and I'm looking around, Tiger Stadium's got 48,000 people, Canadian flags are everywhere. It was surreal. Alan Trammell has the ball. Everybody's telling him my first hit, so he shakes the ball at you and says congratulations, throws the ball into the dugout. Umpires are saying congratulations, rookie. It's an unbelievable feeling getting your first major league hit in the major leagues, I got to tell you. And especially in an iconic stadium like Tiger Stadium. Because I grew up loving Alan Trammell, Lance Parrish, and Jack Morris, and all these guys. I grew up, loving baseball in the 80s when the Tigers were so good. Obviously the Jays were my favorite team. But, it was cool. I got to do that then. And then we came to the Sky Dome and I had to face Paul Quantrill, another Canadian who became a good friend of mine. I was shitting my pants. I was scared to death. I got to tell you, I was freaking out. So it was, my parents were there. My grandpa was there. Everybody was there. God, so many of my friends were there. So it was definitely hard to focus, definitely hard to concentrate playing in front of, I had to get 50, 60 tickets for the game, which I hated doing. I wish I didn't ever have to do things like that. It was a distraction, right? So, but getting that first hit, man, I honestly, I don't know. I still remember standing at first base with Bob Baylor and just like, I wanted to cry, man. I looked up at the sky. I still remember looking at the sky because I always felt like my grandma, I have a Mohawk grandma, my mom's mom, who died in 1953. I always felt was my guardian angel. It's funny. Whenever times were tough, I'd always talk to my grandma, and there it is right there. And, it was really just a nod to who I felt was always someone that was protecting me. She was a Mohawk from Kanawaki in Quebec. And, my brother and I are actually native status Indians. Another thing that I don't think we ever even told the Blue Jays that we were Native Indians.
Another first.
Probably the first guy to play. Probably the first guy to the Jays.
Yeah, another first.
But anyways, we never talked about that stuff, right? We were told kind of not to even divulge that our family history because my mom didn't grow up in Reserve, right? Her mom died so young, and so she was integrated into Toronto so quickly as a 2-year-old. So we kind of lost that culture, part of our life. But anyways, it was definitely a surreal moment. The next at bat that came up, Paul Quantrill decided to throw the ball in my head, which I learned quickly that major leaguers would do. They'll test you out, right? You get hit off them, and they will then throw a ball at you and stare at you, and you're like, you don't even know who to look at. Do I, what I mean? So I didn't react at all, but definitely knocked the willies into me again a little bit. because he's a gamer. Paul was like something special to play against and play with down the road. I ended up being one of his teammates. So it was, I don't know, playing the Skydome was, magical and a dream come true. And, something that was, probably the funnest time of my life. It was difficult, but man, it was fun.
Yeah, and especially being able to look back now at what transpired for you guys, and you didn't get a chance. You got injured down the stretch, didn't get a chance to play, but you were added to the playoff roster. Did that surprise you?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, 11 games in, just as I was getting comfortable playing, I got a hit. I was batting around 250, 240, 250. I was getting I was basically averaging almost a hit every game. I think I got a hit in 10 of my first 11 games. But I kept just going 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 5, right? And so we're playing the New York Yankees. I'm feeling really good. I lead off. I get a base hit up the middle, and I'm standing at first base with my childhood hero, Don Manley, who I had a poster on my wall for a long time. God, I got where I'm down. Anyways, I'm talking to Don Manley, and I'm actually telling him how much of a hero he is of mine. I got his poster. I copied his thing. I was in Burby to Don Manley, Burby, and he's like, "What the hell's that?" And he was like, "Great, awesome swing." And it fired me up so much, I decided to steal second base. Not even give him the sign. I just take off and steal second base. I break my thumb, tore a ligament in my thumb.
Oh,
and I missed 2.5 months coming back in September. Not a September call. I went to rehab and came back in September. And I didn't get to play. I didn't play, at all until the end of the season, until we clinched. And I just went on a tear. I went on a tear. Cito put all the rookies in. I think he was trying to figure out who he would add to the World Series roster. And I got a bunch of hits. We played Milwaukee, and I think I reached base, 7 or 8 times in a row, walks and hits, and doing my thing. Just I don't know. I just got my rhythm really quickly and felt good, and I was playing good defense. And when we clinched, he took me and Dick Schofield into his office and said, "You guys are going to be added to the playoff roster." And I was just like, I thought I was getting cut, and he was like, "No, you guys are going to be on the playoff roster." And I was looking at Dick Schofield going, "How the hell did I manage to do that?" Me and Dick became very close, very good friends. He was injured that year as well when he broke his forearm. And we became very close. And he became my mentor in baseball. Anyway, so it was really fun that we got put on the playoff roster together. But it was a big surprise. It was a big shock. Because there's so many good players on the team. Turner Ward and some of the other guys that weren't added who were also very close to me. And they were hurt by that, right? They were hurt that they weren't going to play in the playoffs, and I got a chance. And I still feel to this day like, sometimes I wish all of us could have done it, right? It was heartbreaking to watch Turner be upset that I got put on. So I didn't really celebrate that much, right? Internally I was, but, he missed out on the opportunity that I got. So anyways, it was, I still didn't think I was ever going to play, right? Our team was so damn good. We were a team of all-stars and Hall of Famers. So, to get a chance to be named to the roster and then eventually playing the World Series was, really incredible. Still to this day, surreal that it ever happened.
Yeah, I understand it. You don't want to rub anybody else's nose in it. The fact that you made it, inside, you got to be, oh my God, this is such a cool opportunity. And you earned it. You went, like you said, you went on a tear. You earned it. You were hitting probably 250 when you got hurt, but then you went on that tear at the end of the season. And of course, you were part of the Jays' incredible run. We fast forward now to the World Series, Game 5, and you get a chance to get called into a very tough spot, pinch hitting in the top of the 8th inning, facing the ace, Kurt Schilling, who had been unhittable that night pretty much. And what was going through your mind at this particular time?
Really survival. Like if that whole at bat was probably a 9-10 pitch at bat, I was swinging at everything. If it was over my head, I was swinging at it, right? If a butterfly flew by, I was swinging at the damn thing. So it was definitely do anything and everything you can to keep the at bat alive. To not really, like, I wasn't looking for a walk. I didn't walk anyways in my career. I was definitely a free swinger, swinging at everything kind of hitter, which really is the reason why I made some majors. But he was bang on. He was so tough to hit that night. He was throwing hard. He was locating everything down. All the guys were talking about, his ball was jumping, exploding at the plate. And, it wasn't a shock at that point that I got called on to pinch it, because I was called on in game 3 to pinch it, but I didn't get up. I was on deck and totally unexpected. I didn't think it was going to happen. And luckily, it was a great preparation time for me, because I was really, I was like, my heart was beating so fast, so quick. And I got the feeling of Veteran Stadium with 60, 70,000 people in it it was insane, that bowl of people, and seeing them out there in that environment being so hostile towards us. And, I got a chance to get on deck, get my routine, get the feel, blah, blah, blah. Lenny Dykstra makes a diving catch in the inning. Didn't happen. The opportunity was gone. But I was more prepared for the next game. Because, we were on the bench where guys are, we're hanging out, we're eating Henry bars, we're having fun, we're laughing, joking. All of a sudden, Rob Butler, you're batting. I'm like, what? So the next game, I made sure I was moving around, stretching, doing all the things in game 4. And I got the pinch at that game. And I was much more prepared for that. So when it came to game 5, we were ready the whole time, because we knew anything could happen at any time. Me and Dick and Darnell and Willie Cagnante got into pinch run. And Gene Tennis came down and said, Butler, you're hitting. Bam, out of my winter coat. Right, it was cold and rainy during that time. And man, I already had my batting gloves on, like I was ready. And it's funny, because it was probably the least nervous I'd ever been. I was very excited, but not nervous in any way. It was definitely a feeling that I was a part of it now, because I'd already had a pinch hit experience the game before and scored the 7th run in that 15-run game. So I felt like I was a part of it, and it really gets your the competitive and your adrenaline and all that going. But I was not nervous at all. It was kind of this sweet spot in your mind, right from being on deck to walking up to home plate, saying hi to Darren Dalton, and just kind of zeroing in and focusing on, Kurt Schilling and the way he was pitching. He's a very over-the-top pitcher at that time, so I was comfortable with that. For me, it seemed like I don't know, but for some reason I could see the ball really well, and I was fouling a lot of pitches off and battling and doing that I could. One of them almost, was caught, so it was very, very the way it all came down. It just worked out perfectly. And then, I still remember hearing the announcer saying, when you go up, the small guys with no power, you go right at them, you pitch them inside. And sure enough, he threw a pitch down and in at me. And, I was able to get it. I knew that with guys on first, I was always trying to hit that hole. Something that, Bill Buckner taught me back when I was in A-ball, hit that hole to situational hitting.
Advanced runner.
And you know what? It worked. I got that ball through the hole and I got the first, and I'm standing there talking to John Kruk. And I'm telling Bob Baylor, I just got a hit in the World Series. And he's like, yeah, but you need to score the tying run. So let's focus on that. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Fuck, I guess. Yeah. And but it was not even a moment of nervousness. It was like I was floating. It was such a great moment of being in a zone of just, oh man, it was so much fun and just felt amazing. So I don't know. That's how that moment went down. It was great. Yeah. All I can say it was fantastic, man. Like something yeah.
And even though you guys lost, I mean, it still gave you guys a little bit of a momentum there, and then of course it did all of it set the table for the big one. Game 6, and how much fun was this? You're trailing in the 9th inning, and here we have the shot heard around the country, I guess, in Game 6, and it's Joe Carter against Mitch Wild Thing Williams. And what was going through your mind? Tell us what was going on with Rob Butler at this very moment.
Well, I was hoping that I wasn't getting into the game. You know what? That whole year, I got to watch the Blue Jays, and from the dugout. I was injured, and they let me rehab in Toronto, and I got to go to all the games and be a part of all of that and see these guys, the way they played and how they did everything and the way they handled all these situations. And, we always came from behind. We always did these great things that year. Like, we were such a hard team to beat, right? It didn't matter. In the 9th inning, we were finding a way to come back all year. And it just lined up so perfectly that, well, it wouldn't have mattered. I honestly don't believe it would. Like, everybody in the lineup was ready to come through in the clutch. And that's just the kind of team it was, right? So, but the way that 9th inning lined up with Ricky and Malter and Devo and Joe all coming up, the sequence, the way it all went down, it was just perfect. It was set up perfectly. And the right guys did it, right? It just showed you, because we were losing 6-5, the teamwork that happened, right? Ricky knew he needed to get on. Devo was trying to get right, and Paul saying, I'm not trying to hit a two-run homer here. I'm trying to use the gap and use the hole and do whatever I can to get on as well to give Joe the opportunities to set up for him to do something magical. So you hear these guys talking about this stuff all the time, right? You understand teamwork and what they're trying to do and what they did all year that year, and it all just the whole year meshed like this. So with Joe up there, I mean, talk about having the perfect guy. He's a 100 RBI guy every season, it seemed like, and hit 30 home runs all the time. And just Joe is one of those guys who should be in the Hall of Fame. He was so instrumental for the Blue Jays for all those years he was there. And then line up the way it did, he had no fear. He knew what to do with Mitch and, how to attack him because we beat him in the game, a couple games before that as well, where, they were happy when he came in. So, which, guy throwing 95 miles an hour from the left side with 45 saves, what team gets happy to see a guy like that on the mound? But these guys they're excited about it. And it was unbelievable. So that's when I was nervous. When I was never playing and all the guys are talking, when you're not playing, you're more nervous, right? So, you're feeling all those crazy emotions. And, when I was actually near Cito during the time, I was like inching up. I don't know if something had happened where, maybe a pinch runner or something. I don't even know. I don't even know what the hell was going on. Maybe extra innings happened. There was talk of us being something happening, in extra innings or whatever. So anyways, I was actually very close to the front of the dugout. And, we all knew Joe could do something, but we didn't know it'd be that spectacular, right? When the World Series ended with a home run. So, but when Joe did it, obviously we all turned into jumping beans, and it's the excitement, and no one knew what to do. No one knew what to do, right? It was like just pandemonium. So, and for me, it was pandemonium. I couldn't stop bouncing. I don't think I stopped bouncing for about 2 years after that, to be honest. Spinning your step, like I could have probably dunked basketballs in a 10-foot freaking basketball hoop. It was, I don't know, man. Like, these are things that are so hard to explain because you're so happy, so excited, so jubilant. Like it's like your body combusted and exploded, right? So it was, I think the whole stadium rocked. I think everyone in Canada could feel that stadium rocking. So, what Joe did was so monumental and so incredible for the whole country, right? The whole country, came together, and for the Blue Jays at that time especially. And I don't know, Joe put us all on his back, and he carried the team for us and did it. It's still a moment that, I still see. I saw it right there. It's just, it brings those chills right back to you. It's like it happened last night. So I've never forgotten it. The feeling I still get goosebumps, thinking about it, and, because it's so implanted in your brain, you never forget, those moments. And that's a moment that I'll never forget. God.
Well, and of course, right after the game, you're interviewed in that chaotic dressing room by Rod Black. We have that clip. It sort of says it all right here. Let's roll that, Vic.
What's this feel? Butlerville's going crazy. Eastern's going crazy. All I want to say, I love you all. I love everybody in Butlerville. I love everybody in Eastern. I love everybody in Canada. I know I talked to you earlier this season about your first major league RBI, and I talked to you recently about what it was like to be in the series, to help contribute, to get a chance to play at the plate, to know that you were here and to accomplish a dream. How does that all feel? It was a dream. It's all a dream that has come true. I can't believe what I'm feeling. I can't keep my feet still. Partway through the game, I couldn't even watch. I was so nervous about the outcome. And
I saw you in the tunnel. You didn't want to watch the game in the seventh. What did you think when Joe Carter put it out?
I was sitting on the bench and I was saying, Joe, if there's any time to do it, baby, do it now. And he did. And it was just, pandemonium. I can't even remember anything after that, just running.
Family and friends watching. A kid grows up and dreams about being here. Talk a little bit about the emotion being felt in Butlerville right now, and from your family and friends who are watching.
Well, from everyone.
And your brother.
Oh, my brother, anyone who's always supported me, and I wouldn't be here without them. To make it through all those days where you just want to give up. All those long bus rides. You're thinking, man, is it all worth it? And they've been there for me my whole career. And my brother and I have been out there practicing every day, making all this happen, and it has happened. Rich, woo! I love you, Rich.
Rob Butler, very happy. Enjoy yourself tonight.
Oh man, that was so good.
I don't know.
Okay, your thoughts looking back at that.
Geez, that's fun to watch. I never really watched that in its entirety like that. Wow, that's emotional, man. That brings back good times.
Yeah.
It's funny. You kind of like, you're in there. I'm kind of talking about, what I went through, you know what I mean? Without saying it, and the people that were there with me and for me and helped me, survive all of that because it was only 2.5 years before that, right? I'm on the darkest spot of my life, and 2.5 years later, I'm a World Series champion. And I wasn't going to go on and say, 2.5 years ago, I was like walking on train tracks.
Yeah.
It's funny. It is so amazing. It really is so amazing. The human spirit and what you can overcome. You said the word resilience, and what you can, if you have the tools and you find a way, you can overcome things, and your mind and your body will get through it if you let it happen, if you work towards it, and you find people that will help you work towards it. And all that accumulated in me being a World Series champion, because none of that would have happened if I decided not to do it, right? So I don't know, man. That was fun to watch. Actually, it's fun to watch because I'm watching my eyes and I'm watching my brain. I know what's going on in my brain. I know the chaos of what I've been through and all that stuff, and what me and my brother have been through together to do this. Right? I'm not even a drinker, so it's funny that I got champagne. I wish I still had that champagne bottle. It's probably worth money now. And to do it with Rod, who became such a good friend of mine later. I coached his son, and his Tyler's was in the major leagues. It's just funny, the circle of baseball and the way it just keeps on circling. It's incredible. That moment was that moment was fun. And I got to experience it with my mom and dad. I went in after we won the World Series and we did all the celebrating. I went into the stands. My dad and my brother put me on their shoulders. I got a picture of it right there. I'm looking at it. And just celebrated with all the people in the stadium. And, I still can't believe it happened to me, right? I grew up in Maine and Danforth. I grew up in Ontario housing. I grew up having panic attacks freaking every day in my damn life with stress and anxiety and all this shit I went through. But I also had so much fun with life. You know what I mean? Like I really was, I love being an athlete. I love going to East York Collegiate. I love playing for Team Canada. But intertwined in all of that was all this chaos and mess in my mind. And, I don't know. I got really lucky. I got fortunate that, me and my brother went and did this together. That he became a great baseball player, made it to the major leagues as well. And he has his own struggles that he's had to deal with. And, it really is I think a story of overcoming and resilience and, love for my mom and dad. My mom and dad, they really, were always there and, did all the things they sacrificed so much for us and made it all happen. So, you always have to think where you came from, man. I came from my mom and dad, and they helped make it all happen.
Hey, Rob, I was just thinking. I was watching the interview there. You're shaking your feet and you're running around. How many days did it take for you to get off that high? Like, did you not sleep for 5 days?
You know what? Luckily for me, being the only Canadian on the team, I don't think I've ever come off that high yet.
That's good.
It's still there. You know what I mean? Because when I'm on the ball diamond, I hear about it all the time. I hear, about the World Series and all of that. So it brings all those, like talking about it again today, right? I'm all emotional again, and I'm feeling it all. And I'm feeling the goosebumps and the chills and the excitement and, watching myself there, which I haven't gotten to do a lot. I try not to, nobody likes to see themselves on TV, so I never watch those things, but it brings it all back. It brings it all back of the emotion and, what you're feeling. And it's never left my body, right? It's inspired me to be a good coach, and inspired me to be a good dad. All these things have really impacted my life so dramatically in that not that one moment, but building up to all of that, right? And all of it has been so important to me, and important to my family, and important to Rich, and important to my wife now, and my son. My kids. I got 2 step kids that I can talk about my baseball career, and they appreciate and respect all the things that I did. And I don't know, it just makes me feel so good. And every time I get to hear about it, I get to feel good again. So this is why I like doing these podcasts, because, guys like you and Joe, you bring it up and I get to feel it all again. I love it. I wish I could talk about it every single day. It really does bring out real emotions, because I always wanted to be a baseball player from the time I was really young. And I had all these roadblocks that were kind of, that I had to get over and deal with. And, I feel so fortunate that it all happened. I feel fortunate the Blue Jays still gave me an opportunity, right? Leaving baseball in 91, they could have told me, hang him up, man. Like, probably some people in baseball probably have. The team probably said, you know what, we're not going to do this, and you won't do it. But they still gave me the opportunity. They let me flourish, and it was a blessing. It was like it was all meant to be, right? So I don't know. I feel like I'm the luckiest Canadian in the world to play for the Blue Jays. I know it's coaching all these kids. The first thing you ask them when they're 8 years old, when I do my summer camp, I got 150 kids in the summertime. What's your dream, boys? It's always to play for the Blue Jays. So it's I got lucky. I got to live that dream, and I have a lot of people to thank for it. I have a lot of people in my life to thank for it. Starting with my own family, right? None of it would happen without them.
Yeah. You can see the pure joy. The pure joy when you the bounce, the everything going on. There was just a beautiful, beautiful moment, and so much went into it. And we know the backstory now, which is pretty awesome. Rod touched on this, but he talked about the support you had from Butlerville, Newfoundland. Tell us about Butlerville and the family. Are you related to like everybody in the town? Is that how it works?
Well, definitely not related to everybody. But it does make the story more interesting. Butler's in Butlerville, I can tell you that. My dad's from Butlerville, and nobody ever believed it was a place. It's funny, that was actually called Butlerville, but it actually is. My grandparents' parents moved there from Ireland, and they named it Butlerville because they're the first people there. So, and huge families. Like my dad had 14 siblings. He had cousins who had 26 siblings. Like it's crazy how many people are related in this town. So most were Butler, and you know what? Me and Rich got to go there every summer when we were really young. Once we started playing baseball, we obviously we couldn't go out during the summer anymore. My dad got his vacations, but man, what a place! Unbelievable fun. Ponds you could swim in, the mountain across the street you could climb. We climbed the mountain every damn day, picking blueberries. My cousins, my dad's brothers and sisters were so good to us. They taught us how to fish. The air was clean. It was amazing. Everything was dirt roads. It was just a fun place to go visit for a couple of weeks every summer. And they always bugged me and Rich because my dad always talked about us playing baseball, and when we were 14, 15, they're always talking about being. They already thought we were Blue Jays, even though we weren't. They're like, "Oh, you're going to be a Blue Jay." They kept going on about us being Blue Jays. It's like they already knew that this was going to happen. But anyways, Butlerville is full of Butlers, and they said it during the World Series. His family's from Butlerville, and that's when all of Butlerville went crazy, obviously, because they got to hear themselves on television. And it became like a part of it. Like it's funny, it became a part of the whole story of Canadian playing for the Blue Jays. I was born in Toronto, but my whole family mostly was from Butlerville, and they all got they stay up late and watch it. They got the TV. I think it was the only TV in the freaking family that they had there then, and they all gathered around the TV. And then I got the hit. It was. I didn't know what was going on, obviously, but it was pretty special. It was pandemonium. And then after the World Series, me and Rich always wanted to get back to see our grandparents, because they were getting older and we hadn't seen them for a few years at that point because we were, away all the time. But we got to go. Air Canada actually flew us out to Newfoundland. Wow. And it was supposed to be just for me and Rich to spend 4 days seeing my grandma, my grandpa, and some of my cousins and that we always loved going to see. Anyways, we get to the airport and there's like 10,000 people there. And we have no idea how anybody knew we were even coming. Guys, there was no cell phones. We didn't tell anybody. I didn't call and say, "Hey, I'm coming to Newfoundland." My mom and dad knew. We didn't know anybody else knew. Anyways, airport was jammed. We had this whole parade all the way from seemed like St. John's into Shearstown, into Bay Roberts. We had all these blue and white balloons, signs everywhere. Oh. So for about the last 25 minutes of driving, it was just a parade route where people actually lined the streets. And I had never experienced anything like that in my life, obviously, except for the World Series parade. But it was, I couldn't believe the welcome that they gave us. Anyway, so my grandma's little house, we actually signed autographs for, it felt like 10 hours, man. I swear we signed thousands of autographs. Until the last person left, we were signing autographs and taking pictures. And my grandma was only 4'11", and she had 14 kids. And just listening to her talk and the little chirps and the little Newfie chirps and a little slang that they, oh man, it was so much fun and so funny. All the Lord Tundrons that were being said and by Jesus and oh man, it was funny. And it was incredible that it was a part of it. And I'm so happy that, CBC and all the people who were else, I mean, every news station was talking about Butlerville at that time because the Blue Jays were so big, right? And I guess, my story, I wore my high socks. Nobody in the majors wore high socks then except for maybe Jim Tomey and me. So I had this little outlandish look as well, which was a superstition of mine. It wasn't to look different. It was just, I played with my socks out. So, there's a whole story with that with me and Rich as well. When we first went to pro ball, we weren't very good. So we said, Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth, let's wear our high socks because we were Yankee fans, old school Yankee fans. So we wore our high socks and I wore mine my whole career. I mean, I don't think it's hard to find me with my socks down. So anyways, it just became this whole story and Butlerville became a huge part of it. And man, that was fun. That was a fun 3 days. I got time in Newfoundland. It was hectic and man, it was a blast. Another moment I'll never forget was that time in Butlerville.
Yeah. Wow, it's great. It's awesome. You guys put Butlerville on the map, no doubt about it. They appreciated that. Yeah, great. So you had a stint with the Phillies. You ended up coming back to Toronto. Got a chance to play with Rich. Would you say that you accomplished everything you hoped to in your major league career?
I accomplished everything I wanted as a professional baseball player when I played my first game in the Intercounty League. Honestly, where I came from and what I'd been through, what I dealt with, getting to that point I was like, this is all I've ever wanted, to play a professional baseball game. And I played in Hamilton against the Hamilton Cardinals. My first at bat with a 3-pitch strikeout. My first game was a 2-for-4 off of Alan Watson for Hamilton. And that moment for me was like, I've accomplished everything I needed to accomplish to be satisfied. So everything else after that was pure gravy. Whether I played another game, whether I made it to the majors was the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. So all the things that I did after that was definitely, I think that's what also what helped me make it to the majors. I was very satisfied. I was very content and happy. I wasn't, it relaxed me. So I was able to play good all the time and focus. And when I got, things went up and down, things were rocky, things happened where I got traded to the Phillies for a bag of baseballs. It felt like, I played a couple more years in the minors and I didn't think I was going to make it back to the majors. In 97, I actually got released in spring training, but somehow managed to get my way back into Scranton as the 7th outfielder. So this is April 1997. I got released. I got invited back just to fill a spot because all these guys got hurt in Philadelphia. Rex, a bunch of guys got hurt. Everybody got hurt. So they needed guys to fill the AAA roster. And then Mark Bombard, the manager, told me that I'm just here to fill a roster. But I'm going to try to play you as much as I can because I want to keep you. Right? I had a good spring that year. I had one of my better springs, so I still got released. So anyways, like dominoes, guys just started falling off in AAA. Ricky Otero broke his hand. All these guys got hurt, and I started playing every day. And I got really hot. Like I got a bunch of hits, hit some home runs, and right around my birthday, April 10th, I got called up to the majors. And I thought I was getting released. Bombard and Larry Anderson brought me into the office in '97. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm getting released. I'm having the time of my life. He's like, Rob, I'm really sorry, blah blah blah. But you're going to the major leagues. I was like, I'm going to the major leagues. So that's how I made it to the Philadelphia Phillies. I got released, got offered a spot in AAA, 7th outfielder. 4 guys get hurt, all within 3 days. I'm playing center field, and I got called up by April the 10th, April 11th. I'm back in the big leagues, and it was kind of like the way my career kind of went after the World Series. It's hard, man. Making it to the majors thing. The majors is a hard thing to do, man. It's a roller coaster. I tell everybody this. Just because you're there doesn't mean you're there forever. You got to really I have so much respect for these guys who can play 10, 15 years. I don't know how they do it. It's such a hard place to play baseball. And then in 99, it happened again. I had actually the worst spring training of my life. I went back to the Blue Jays. I just won a AAA World Series with New Orleans, with the Houston Astros organization, which was an amazing, incredible experience. Played with Lance Berkman and all these guys, became Houston greats. Won a AAA World Series. And I was getting close. I was 29 years old, and I met Gord Ash at a charity fundraiser in December of 98. And he asked if I wanted to come back to the Jays. And I was like, oh my God, like I felt like I screwed up my whole time there. Like some things had gone sideways a little bit in 94. And I was like, I would jump at the opportunity. He said, Rob, you'll be a fourth outfielder in Syracuse. You bring on help the young guys. You got a good career. You got experiences. Boom, signed the Blue Jays. I'm back. Never an intention to play in the big leagues, just to wear the uniform again. So I go to spring training, 99, and Terry Bedington's the manager. And we've never done this before. We have he meets with all the AAA players and goals and all this stuff. They started asking about goals and stuff near the end of my career, and something they've never done before. Anyways, I said, I want to be a fourth outfielder. He said, I'm going to stop you right there. He said, Rob, we've already got 5 outfielders. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, we've already got 5 outfielders that are going to be in Syracuse. You're not. I'm just telling you because you played in the big leagues, and I'm dead honest. But this is going to be a rough spring for you. And I was just like, what the hell? I felt like I was lied to. Like, it was just like, what? This was like my dream to come back and kind of like reconcile things that had happened. Anyways, I ended up on Diamond 3 at old Bodymatic Park now. Anyways, which means you're nowhere. You're done. I was taking batting practice, pitching machine every day, right? Diamond 3 is like, you got to take a golf cart to get to it. So I knew I was done. I got 13 at bats. I think I struck out like 10 of them. I was just down in the dumps. So anyways, sure enough, I get released in spring training again in 99. The thing was, 99 was probably one of the worst years of my life, actually, other than all the shit I went through before. My dad went to Newfoundland because his mom was dying. She had emphysema. My grandma was dying. And she was close to being on her deathbed. So my dad went to Newfoundland, spring training of 99 in March. And his dad was a little bit ill, but his dad was fine. His mom was dying for sure. She'd lost a few limbs, and it was just awful what was going on. Uh-huh. Me and Rich are trying to slug it out in spring training. I'm not even playing, right? I'm on Diamond 3. And Kenny Robinson died that year as well. Rich's best friend, he died in a traffic accident. Anyways, my dad goes to Newfoundland. And his brother dies. While he's there. My dad finds him.
Oh boy!
He had a massive heart attack and died. He couldn't take the stress and pressure of their mom dying. Anyways, my dad, before a day in spring training, my dad called me and Rich around 8 a.m. while this is happening. It's an hour and a half time change, and his brother has died. Right, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what was happening. My dad was freaking. He found his brother dead in his house. He just spent time with him. Anyways, it was crazy what happened in 99. So I'm trying to deal with that. Rich goes to Newfoundland. He's playing with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at this point. He flies to Newfoundland. I'm too afraid to go to Newfoundland because I'm afraid I'll get released on the spot and I'll lose my job. So I was planning on going to Newfoundland at the end of spring training. I'm thinking, no, I'll go at the end of spring training, blah, blah, whatever.
Right.
Anyways, this whole struggle is going on for me and Rich. I never talked about this ever. I don't think nobody, the Blue Jays never knew this would happen.
Right.
We didn't want to ever feel, we didn't want to feel like there was trauma or something to deal with, right? Because, back in those days, you're done, right? Especially in the minors. There's no protection in the minors. There's no unions. There's no, you're done, right? So we said nothing. Rich took off, went to Newfoundland for 3 days. I stayed and tried to make my way through spring training. It was, I don't even know how I did it, to be honest. It might have been, some of the guys that were there that helped me. I don't know. But it was bad. It was really bad. It was awful. Hearing my dad on the phone crying and freaking out. His brother had just died. They were best friends. Anyways, then I get released at the end of spring training. So I'm just like, fuck, this is just like the best. It's like, what the hell, man? Yeah. What else can go wrong? Anyways, miracle? I don't know. I'm sitting in my locker and I'm debating, I'm going to go to Newfoundland, obviously. But anyways, Garth Orge, Ernie Witt come over to my locker and Rob, we were just with Jimmy Hoff, who was the minor league coordinator at the time. You got a job. I'm like, I got a job. He said, yeah, but you got to go double A. And I'm like, go double A. He said, we don't even have time to talk about this. You got to come into the room, talk to Jimmy Hoff. You got literally a minute. So I was like, okay, let's go. And anyway, Jimmy Hoff is like, we don't have room in Syracuse. I know you were promised that you might play in Syracuse. It didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. But we have a job for you, double A, Knoxville. Do you want it? Yes. It was that fast. Yeah, I'll take it. So I put everything on the back burner. You know, my family, all the shit that my dad was going through, all that, we put it on the back burner. Rich came back, you know, was playing for the Rays. And Omar Malaway was my manager. And it was funny because the first conversation I had with him, it was like, he was like, you know, we don't want any problems. We want you to be, you know, a leader. I'm like, whoa. I said, buddy, I will be the most consummate pro, show up every day like I've always done in my whole career. I didn't know where this even came from. I was like, what is this talk? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways, I gave Ernie Witt and Garth Orge a kiss. I said, thank you guys. You know, I'm so happy that I get one more chance, right? So I went to Knoxville, and I was actually leading the league in hitting. It's funny. I was on my way to winning another batting title. I like a 35-game hitting streak. I was so determined and focused and blocking out the shit that was in my life, right? My dad was now home. He was devastated. My dad never even drank in his life, and he started drinking. Like it was awful. My grandma hadn't even passed away yet. My dad was dealing with his brother dying. We were trying to support him. I'm batting like 350, 360 in AA. And honestly, the baseball part really helped me through all of that as well. So halfway through the season, Omar comes to me and said, you know, you made the all-star team for AA. And I was like, you know what? I didn't want to take a spot from a young guy. I'm 29 years old, right? I shouldn't even be in AA. I should be home working construction or something. Anyway, he's like, no, you got to go. You got to go. You got to do it. Like you're right now, you're leading the league in hitting and whatever, all that bullshit doesn't matter. So I agreed to go and play in the All-Star game. And, you know, it was fun. All that was amazing. And after the game, he pulls the whole team in and said, I have an announcement to make. One of our players here has had a hard year. You know, he got sent to AA. I'm looking, is he talking about me? Anyways, he's like, you know, he got released in spring training. He's in AA. You know, he proved himself.
Sounds like me.
He's going back to the majors. Rob Butler, you're going to the majors. And I was just like, what? Again, what? I found my way back to the majors in 99. The only problem was, as much as I was so happy to make it back to the big leagues, I'm just rehashing. There's so many things to rehash. I'm trying to do it quickly. I was so happy playing AA, being in the minor leagues. I didn't even care we're playing Major League Baseball. Honestly, I called my mom, Dad, I made it back to the big leagues. Oh yeah, it's great. Good. Way to go. Congratulations. Like, it was kind of like that because my dad was suffering so bad. It was such a back burner thing. And I got to go experience Jim Fregosi. And I was just like, oh my God. The Major Leagues is an amazing place. Hardest place to play. But if you're not one of Jim Fregosi's boys, oh boy, is it tough. Very difficult manager to play for. Very difficult manager to be around. Like, I got to tell you, like, I know he's passed away now, and it's sad and whatever, but I got to tell you, man, there's times where, and I can't even remember when Sean Green first got called to the big leagues, and he wanted to go back to the minors because it was so hard. He was having such a hard time his first time being called up. I experienced that. And then I hurt my back, I fractured my back, and my career ended, and I was happy. I walked out of the Sky Dome in 1999 at the end of the year, happy. I knew I was retiring. I knew my baseball career was over. I was satisfied. I made it back to the majors in one of the toughest years I've ever been through. I made it from AA. I proved to myself that I could do it. And honestly, when my career ended, I still remember telling Joey, I threw batting practice to Joey Votto a couple of seasons. And he asked me about the end of my career and stuff. And I was like, you know what, Joey, honestly, for me, because he had some anxiety issues as well, right? So I was like, for me, I walked out, I looked up at the sunshine, and I was like, thank God this is over. I am so happy. I am so satisfied. 10 years of pro ball. I won a World Series. I won some batting titles. I met the greatest guys in the world, my best friends, the best teammates. I had a few, Terry Francona, Dennis Holmberg, Mark Bombard, Sean, Carlos, Rick Rona, John Zuber, all these guys, Dick Schofield. These are the things I remembered the most. And I was so satisfied. And I'm so lucky because I walked away from baseball happy, content, satisfied, completely just
you had enough.
grateful for what I had accomplished and what I'd been through.
Yeah.
And people say, well, you could have played 5 more years in the majors. Like, your career ended in the majors.
Yeah.
I would not have survived it. Right. So for me, it was a relief and pure joy that I did it all.
Yeah.
I did all that I wanted to do. And I don't know. It was 99 was a tough year. My grandma ended up passing away, and we had to deal with all of that. And it just culminated into, like, life is so much more important. Being happy and being satisfied and being content. It's just, I wasn't willing to die for baseball. And I was kind of like, baseball saved me, but at the end I'd had enough. And that level of baseball, I really was done with it. And I don't have any remorse or regret about anything in my career. I'm so happy that it all happened, and the way it went down, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you get to come home, and of course, your baseball career wasn't over. You were MVP of the Intercounty League. You and Rich, what a 1-2 punch that was. No doubt about it. What was it like to come back home and play in the Intercounty League, win an MVP, and just have some fun playing ball again?
It was so 2000. I took the year off. I was injured, and I was kind of recovering from a 10-year professional career. So I didn't play baseball at all in 2000. Rich was still playing. He was up and down and trying to make it back to the majors, stick with, which I think he's with Texas at the time. He couldn't stick with the team. He was up and down with them. So my good buddy Mike Aslan played for the Leafs at the time, and he was asking me to come play, and Jack Dominico was asking me to play all the time. I think he even was with the Blue Jays. Why don't you come play for the Leafs instead? And because he's crazy and loved his Maple Leafs. Everybody knows Jack Dominico and his insanity about it all. So 2001 rolled around, and I was feeling good. Right, I was exercising again. I really didn't have any back issues anymore, and I think some of the wear and tear had worn off a little bit, and Rich had gotten released. So Mike Aslan was asking me again to come play for the Leafs. And I was unsure. I hadn't played baseball because with my injury, I didn't play. I think July of 99 was the last time I played baseball. So I had 2 years off almost. So I was a little bit reluctant, but I always did want to play for the Leafs. Like, I grew up loving Bill Bykowski and all these guys who played for the Leafs back in the day when I was a kid in East York. And I followed their stats all the time. So I said, I'll give it a shot. And then Rich came home. Rich got released and came home. And, he didn't want to play baseball anymore. He'd had a rugged time himself. Yeah. The ups and downs of it all. And this time I convinced him to come play with me on the Leafs. I said, we never played on an actual team together. We did some spring training games together, played against each other a lot in AAA. And, he kind of jumped at it and said, you know what? This actually might be fun. No money involved, no pay, no nothing, just play some senior baseball and wear a Maple Leaf uniform. And then being the time of our lives, man, we were, you know what? It was incredible. We had our time with the Leafs was a lot of fun. Rich was incredible. I mean, one of the reasons why I played well is because Rich batted behind me. And, he was a force, so everyone was too afraid to pitch to him, so they pitched to me. So which is one of the reasons why I batted 48 that one year. I got fastballs down the middle all day. And, he batted 484. Funny thing was, Rich actually batted 484.
Oh, my God, 488 and 484. Oh.
Yeah. So it was a fun summer. We had some great pitchers on our team. Unbelievable pitching staff. Paul Spojerikin to come into the team. And there was games there where, Paul was pitching, or Chris Roth or Johnny Duras. We would stand beside each other. Me and Rich would be in the outfield, standing literally 10 feet apart. Because no guys came to the outfield. We would just kind of wander over and be talking. And the funny thing is, my mom and dad was sitting right field down the right field line there. And we'd be talking to them too. So it was funny because Damon Topley would be catching and he'd be like, guys, what are you doing? Like, you guys there's nobody in the outfield. So I said, well, Paul's pitching, or Chris Roth is pitching, or Duras is pitching. You don't even need us out there. So those kind of moments were funny. Like, it was funny. And then, I'd get on base. I'd still second. Rich would hit a 2-run home run. I guess he get 16 home runs that one year. So, which is a lot. And then we played 32 games. Sure. But it was, and then we ended up winning the championship. We won a championship in 2002. So it was, me and Rich have done a lot of fun things together in baseball, and playing for the Leafs, playing for Jack was always interesting because, we're both batting close to 500. And we're still in trouble. Jack's still giving us shit. Like, we were 1 for 4, he'd give us shit. I'm like, Jack, you ain't paying us, buddy. Like, what are you doing? So anyway, it was a fun couple of years that we had together. And then we ended up, he actually played in that Canadian professional league that they did for 3 weeks. That ended up folding. But anyways, he went to Niagara, and I finished my time with Jack, and we ended up doing a baseball company together. And we did Butler Brothers, and we did camps and coached some teams, and started a whole elite program. And I don't know, me and Rich have been lucky. We've been lucky, since I can remember being little kids at Coleman Park and Seacourt Public School, playing Burby, playing in East York. He's my bat boy when we're playing East York, to playing pro ball together, playing for the Leafs together, and then working together at the end. It was, it's been a baseball life that I've always cherished. I'm still doing it. I still got my baseball camp. We do a baseball camp over at Durham College every summer. We pack the kids in there. We teach them how to play baseball right. So, all these stories bring the reminders of how lucky I've been, to be a Canadian, trying to play an American game, and, being told that we weren't good enough, being told you got to be 3 times as good as the Americans to even move up a level in pro ball, and, playing at Team USA and the Olympics, and, all those guys on that team, Ben McDonald, Andy Bennis, Tino Martinez, Robin Ventura, and they're making fun of us and chirping us because, we're little Canadians, all these little Canadians running around, we used to say. And man, we were a good team. And I don't know, it's fun, amazing experiences that I'm blessed to remember. I'm so happy to remember them all, actually. And I'm glad to get to do, talks with you, Joe, and people like that who want to hear some of these stories. And, it's so much fun. It still is fun to this day to talk about it.
You're still involved. I know you're still the Leafs GM and field manager, and you're still doing work with them. And you guys, had a good series, playoff series with Barrie last month. I mean, a 5-gamer went pretty good. Big Cats ultimately knocked you off 5-4 in the 5th in deciding game. But was that a tough loss? And another thing I wanted to ask you about is you guys made some history this year when you brought in Ayami Sato from Sato from Japan.
Sato, yeah. I gotta tell you, that was, she's an incredible athlete, incredible competitor, right? 6 world championships, MVPs all over the place, discipline like you've never seen before. Just, and a really good, like a great person, right? A teammate, could barely speak English, was still willing to come as a woman to play against guys who play professional baseball, right? We had a guy on our team that played majors. And fearless. Like, she would go out knowing that, well, not knowing because it was totally unknown what would happen. And, doing something that is unbelievably difficult for her, difficult for, for her to even come and stand out there on the mound all by herself as a pitcher, knowing full well that, a lot of guys didn't support it. A lot of guys did not support it. We even lost some players over it, right? Some players quit at the end of the season because of this. And it became a really dramatic, stupid thing that should never have happened. And, the way that I was raised in baseball, it doesn't matter who your teammate is. Your teammate is the most important person on the field. And there was no changing that, right? There was, talk of, we had this one pitcher, but, I made the decision that pitcher wasn't good enough. So we ended up getting another import because we were only allowed to have 5, and Miami took up one of the import spots. But she had earned it. She had earned the right to be given this opportunity. Same way anybody gets an opportunity in baseball. Same way anybody gets an opportunity to play house league. You try out for the team, you make it, right? She had earned her right, and she earned it the first game, right? She threw 2 shutout innings, and that solidified the fact that she was a teammate. So supporting her and giving her all the things that she needed to try to do well to build success in there was difficult. It was difficult for me because between me, Keith Stein, and the owners, there was not a lot of support for Ayami doing this on our team. And it was very difficult to deal with. And, something that I don't know, it's somewhat regretful because we ended up losing at the end because we lost some of our key components of our pitching staff, right? Some of these guys decided that, I'm just being brutally honest. Like, it's out there in the internet. Like, they thought the team wasn't trying to win, and I thought the team was always trying to win. It doesn't matter who you got in your team; you're always going out there to win. So, and we did have all the weapons. We did have all the weapons that we needed to win. We had a closer that you could never get a run off of. We had setup guys. We had the hitters. We had the team. We had the pros. We had all the things that was needed. And Ayami was a beautiful part of all that. Every time she pitched, right, people couldn't wait to see her, whether she pitched well or didn't pitch well. It was an amazing thing to see, right? And she had 6 or 7 shutout innings. She had some innings where she gave up some home runs, but everybody in our team did. Everybody in the league gave up home runs. But she was really targeted with this bullseye. And it was difficult for me to manage because I was very supportive of what was happening. It was important for what was happening. It was important for the Leafs, important for our league. She was a teammate. And I've always tried to tell these guys, like, somebody charges the mound, like part of being a teammate is you charge the mound with a teammate. As much as fighting is whatever, but that's what you do. That's what you're there for. And, if somebody charged some of these guys, I don't think would have charged the mound to protect her. It was so bizarre what was going on. And to fight against that, for us to even make it to Game 5 against the team that won the year before, the team that went to the championship again this year, and to take them to the 9th inning, decimated by what became selfish and so un-baseball-like. First of all, you never quit your team, never quit on your teammates. And to have guys leave us that would have been so instrumental on us going all the way was difficult. And Ayami knew all this. Ayami found out about all this and had to live and deal with that and come to the party. She still showed up every day. She is such a blessing for overcoming, resilient, showing up, even though the odds are stacked against you, still waiting to pitch every game, like getting ready, exercising, stretching. I can't say enough about what she tried to do to overcome all of it. I couldn't imagine a baseball player showing up and having every person or most people saying, why is she here? I can't believe she's getting a chance to pitch. We could have this guy instead. None of that. I couldn't understand how the beauty of her doing this and wasn't more important. And it actually made our team better. That's the thing. It actually did make our team better. But other guys I don't know. They just didn't see it that way. So it impacted us, and it impacted us at the end. It came on the end. The last inning, we couldn't do it. We didn't have the weapons anymore. Our pitching was decimated. We were worn out. Right, guys had overpitched, and we ran out of gas against a great team, and it was close. I got invested emotionally. I try to be, as a manager, very calm from, watching Seagulls and other guys who were very calm when they manage and just staying composed. But man, I wore it every damn day. I was feeling it every day. I was nervous and excited and anticipating and wanting to win so badly. Like, I invested it took me 2 weeks after to recover from it all. From what the season and helping Ayami and being supportive and doing everything I could to get everybody to believe in what was happening. And, I wore it. I ate that one a lot. And it ate at me the way it ended, because it didn't have to end that way. If we were going to lose, we needed to lose as the 28 guys who were there day one. 28 guys need to be there on the last day. And sadly, it didn't happen. But she is a beautiful story. What she did is incredible. It's a paving of the road, right? It's just like Canadians paving the roads, like Fergie Jenkins and Terry Pohl and all these guys that came through before, paving roads. Like this is a road paver right here. Someone who is showing girls and women when they're young that you can go play against the boys and have some success and maybe even be better than them, right? And who knows? It could open the road to being a pro, playing in the majors. Who knows, right? It's all a part of the evolution of sports, and you want to grow the game. And I don't know, it was difficult. Something that I loved. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. Yeah. So
you would be the right guy for this, for sure. Yeah. You would be the right guy to make this happen and to be there for her, for sure. Okay, before we go, I want to ask you about your former team, the Jays, and what your thoughts are. Do you see any similarities between this team and the 93 team?
Oh, absolutely. Their ability to come back, right? They're a team that really doesn't quit. They've got a lot of, nice little weapons there. They've got I mean, the bullpen has struggled a little bit here and there. I mean, that would be the only. I mean, it's so hard to win late in the season, and it's so hard to win late in the game, right? That's really the integral part of winning baseball teams, right? You got to have your Tom Hankies and Dwayne Wards and Danny Cross, and like Mariano Rivera. It's like all these teams that win, they got these guys at the end. The guys who can score runs in between the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. Those guys that hit late in the games. And the Jays do have that. Hopefully, Bichette comes back. How do you do it without him? You know what I mean? He's so important to the defense, and that coming from behind, and or holding a lead. But they do have all those good weapons. They got a great pitching staff. It's incredible what they've done turning the team around. You got to give it to the management what they put together. Giving Scherzer and getting Bieber and all these guys. It's really incredible what has happened in a short time, if you ask me. And some of these guys having career years, but that's what it takes to win, year, right? You got to have career years going on, and all that's been happening. And there's been these beautiful little surprises, right, that have come out, and that's what forming great teams. That's where these great players come from, right? Guys getting opportunities and getting to play every day, and it's the reason why they're one of the best teams with the best records in baseball. And they could win the division. Hopefully, they do win the division. It's not easy to do, but I definitely see similarities. Right? They got great leaders. They have fun. They're always enthusiastic and jumping up and down and celebrating each other, and that's what it takes to win. I just hope that, the winning happens in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. And I hope that's, for them to win, that's what's going to have to happen.
They've got a little bit of that Rob Butler enthusiasm, which is nice.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so final question. We're partnered with a group called Believe, Become, Be You. It's a mentorship program for kids 10 to 17, inspired by the late Sean Gindy, led by Papa Jack Gindy. What's the message you would have for any kids who might be struggling to find their way in today's world?
Well, look at that. You know what? First of all, I've been there, so obviously I'm still there. It's a lifelong thing that you live with. And I always talk about the grind. It's funny. You always got to live through the grind, man. Life is a grind, and anything that you're doing, you gotta find that will and that fire in your heart. You gotta find people that will help support you, give you a chance to talk. Talking always helps. Talking saved my life, right? Getting it out, getting things off your chest, helps you overcome these fears. Everybody lives with fear. Fear is like the great motivator, and it can either overwhelm you and destroy you, or you can, find ways to live and deal with it. And, finding support, if you don't find it the first time, you got to find it. You got to go through and find it again. Doing things that you love, appreciating everything that you love. I look back and appreciate everything. I appreciate being poor. I appreciate that I got, a tennis ball as a gift one day. Those things, those things are part of the grind of life, man. And, things will always be tough. People pass away, people get sick, you get sick, you lose your job, you fail in school. But these are all part of living, and you grind it up and you find ways to overcome, man. And, that's a part of the whole story of life. And every person has these stories. And, you have your story, Joe. I have some of mine. My brother has some of his, my parents. Everybody does in their families. And you got to have that support. You got to find it somewhere. The most surprising person in the world will support you the most. And that will help you overcome this stuff. So you got to grind it out.
Beautiful. So you can find Rob on Instagram, Rob Butler Pro Baseball, online, robbutlerprobaseball.com. Thank you so much, Rob, for taking this time to join us. Good luck with the Maple Leafs. Go Jays. And when we come back, Paul Quantrill found out he was a Blue Jay. It was actually a chat with his mom. Back after this.
In 1992, the best locally owned restoration companies came together with one goal: to make disaster recovery better for Canadians. And to this day, DKI remains one of the only 100% Canadian-owned disaster restoration groups in the market. Fire, flood, or storm damage. When things go wrong, the right help makes all the difference. With the right tools and local expertise, we handle everything from emergency response to full-scale restoration, getting homes and businesses back on track the right way. Because a home is more than four walls. A business is more than a building, and recovery is about more than repairs. When you choose DKI, you're choosing a company that's put Canada first since 1992. Locally owned, nationally backed, Canadian through and through. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center. Saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Hearing loss doesn't have to mean missing out. At Hear Canada, we help you take charge with a complimentary hearing assessment because confidence starts with clarity. Discover hearing aids, accessories, and expert care at your local hearing center. Not sure where to start? Our Hearing Health Guide has the basics for you or a loved one. It worked for us. Book your free assessment today at hearcanada.com. Conditions may apply.
We had settled in that we had our baseball life wherever I was playing, Boston, Philly, and then we'd come home to Port Hope and really enjoy our off season, and that's just the way it worked. So when I got traded, and again, I found out I had been traded to the Blue Jays from my mother, and she happened to call my phone, and we were Christmas shopping up your way up near in Oshawa or Pickering Mall or somewhere. And she called all giddy. My mother was so happy and asked me what I felt about the trade. And I said, well, I don't know. Who do I get traded to? And she said the Blue Jays. And because I didn't react immediately positive, I think my mother was mad at me for about a year. But it just made we had to change our view of how we did baseball as a family, is that now we're in the mix of it. I'm a Blue Jay, which is important to all of us in this area. But is the best time of my career. It's like playing summer legion, summer ball, but getting paid too much money and getting a nicer stadium. So awesome time in my career.
Yeah, and you were in the process of building a house in Port Hope, so that kind of worked out for you, didn't it?
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a great 6 years of our baseball life. Absolutely.
So were you guys Blue Jays fans before? Obviously, your mother was, but was the whole family? You guys were all Blue Jays fans before that?
Yeah, I think so. We had moved around, obviously, so I followed the Tigers a little bit when I was down there. But, growing up Canadian, sometimes even my U.S. friends, when I got there, they can hardly believe that I'd only been to, I think, 3 major league games before I played in one. I've watched baseball, but I didn't appreciate baseball as a fan. I love playing. Never enjoyed anything more. It's my favorite thing to do, favorite thing as a little boy. But I was a hockey player, and even today, if I went and played with the boys and did a pickup game, I would get butterflies. But you put me in a big league game, even my very first big league game, I wasn't that nervous. To me, baseball was always a game, and I'm not sure why that was, probably the Canadian tilt of it, but it was just something that I loved doing. So I feel very lucky that I only played with one guy that ever thought had as much fun as me to play baseball, and that was Tony Pena.
Discover the secret to timeless vitality at Renew Medical Center in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Our specialists unravel the science of aging, tailoring plans to defy its effects. Experience cutting-edge regenerative therapies such as stem cells and exosomes, addressing aging at its core.
It's a wonderful spot, and I highly recommend it for whatever you may need, whether you just want to feel better, you want to look better, have basically a quality of life, just to ramp it up a little bit as we age.
Liberate yourself from aging-related concerns, where accountability, technology, and passion for regenerative medicine converge. Begin your path to peak health and wellness with us. Schedule your appointment today at renewpv.com and elevate your quality of life.
Parents, what's the biggest fear for kids 10 to 14? A future they think they can't handle. At Believe, Become, Be You, we know confidence in the future is a habit we can build. Our course doesn't just prepare kids for the future, it seeds them with skills they will use now. For a limited time, the I Believe in Me Foundation is offering the first 1,000 kids and their parents 1 year free access. This priceless opportunity will save you over $2,000. This isn't just a course. It's a journey in developing life-enhancing skills that will grow with your child, fostering gritty minds, creative futures, and better bonds. Get signed up now at BelieveBecomeBeYou.com. That's BelieveBecomeBeYou.com.
And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian sports. A reminder that the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, wherever you get your podcast from. Also, check out the show on YouTube. All of our past great shows are on there, clips and shorts. Like and subscribe. It's absolutely free. Our socials, at Joe Swiss Tilley on Instagram and Threads. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show on Facebook. Thanks once again to Rob Butler for joining us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more.
Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in the early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678.
Joe Tilley here. My wife Penny Claire and I recently took an amazing trip to Egypt and Jordan with Trip Oppo. And here are our top 10 must-dos. Last but not least, we relaxed at a luxury resort and took a dip in the famous Dead Sea. This beautiful resort was a perfect way to cap off our incredible adventure in Egypt and Jordan. After days of exploring ancient ruins and bustling markets, it was wonderful to just kick back, put on a little mud, and soak up the sun by the Dead Sea. Oh, I almost forgot to mention the amazing cuisine in Egypt and Jordan. Don't forget to try the delicious local food like mouth-watering Egyptian barbecue. And the best part is that our Trip Oppo tour includes almost all of the meals, so you can indulge in the local cuisine without worrying about opening your wallet. I would highly recommend that you book your next trip through Trip Oppo. Call them today. Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit sleepyhollowcountryclub.com.